6:15 on day one, and right now this feels like a very, very bad idea. It's 1 o'clock on the first day of this, and I'm already certain I've made a terrible, terrible mistake saying that I'm going to vlog every day. Anyway, I've been to the gym to get up super early to get here, and just started teaching, and I thought I'm gonna save myself the pain of trying to think about what I'm gonna do on this vlog by writing some notes. So the other day I was talking about YouTube channels to some students and talking about the idea of the concept of it. And if you don't have a solid concept for what your channel's about, it's a bit of a mess and you don't necessarily know what you're going to be putting out on it. So I wrote a list really of what I think I cover on the channel. And if you're new to the channel, or if you've been with me for years and it's kind of morphed and changed over the years, I thought this would actually be a good place to possibly start. So I'm going to go through it. I'm going to put them up on here if I've got time. It's for midlifers. I am 50 in a year's time, so this time next year I'll be heading towards my 50th birthday. Lots of time for reflection. If I've got another 20, 30 years left, there's still so much that can be done. So I'm fascinated by it all. And we'll come on to this in a bit though, because maybe my journey to sort of this epiphany isn't the same as everybody else's. Physical health. So the channel originally started off looking at physical health. It was all about triathlon. In fact, it was about a specific triathlon, the Bristol Triathlon. Can't even remember what year it was. And for all my negative personality traits, I've always had a level of interest in physical health. And running has been a constant in my life, so is bike riding. And so it was about that really. I had got very fit and healthy around 2015 physically, and I was doing really, really well in races, but my mental health was colossally horrendous. So really the videos started as a journey of trying to improve both my physical and mental health in tandem rather than one suffering against the other. And that's still the same now. And of course, as a result of that, mental health has become a focus a lot more recently, maybe a little more than the physical health stuff. But yeah, mental and physical health for midlifers. And so I set myself challenges. I'm a big fan of Michael Easter. He talks about this idea of misoggies, this idea of setting yourself challenges and you don't know whether you're going to succeed in them or not. And you're essentially watching the first one of 75 of these. Now, I have no idea if I'm going to succeed, but without the challenge, what the hell's the point? And I've done multiple over the years, races, expeditions of my own doing, or even just kind of like isolation exercises, going to mid-Wales when I first quit drinking for 3 or 4 days and just trying to see how I got on with that. So multiple challenges. This is a brand new one that I've thought up, 75 days of the workouts and also trying to do these daily vlogs. What an idiot. Alongside challenges, I try and make it challenging. I think there's too much pussyfooting around when it comes to mental and physical health. I think as much as it's nice to be kind to yourselves, I think the flip side of that is that actually we could and probably should be equally as kind of challenging and pushing ourselves and not pulling any punches. I'm not talking the extreme of David Goggins, but without him, we wouldn't have an idea really, and the likes of him, just how far we can push ourselves. And I think, you know, if you've got super lazy, not doing anything with your life at this end, and you've got somebody who's really pushing their boundaries at this end, physically and mentally, we should probably be in the middle here. That would be a healthy place to go. But I'm not going to pull any punches with this, and I never have with myself, and the stuff that I put on the channel as a result will always be challenging. Science-based. Now this comes from a morbid fear, I guess, of being caught out. Particularly when I started teaching at university, I was terrified of saying something that wasn't necessarily true or that I'd come up with and formulated as my own idea on something and it getting refuted by somebody, whether that's academically somebody above me or even a student in a class. So as a result of that, I tend to research the living daylights out of stuff. A friend of mine once said, you can read a book, but you'll never know as much as the person that wrote it. And as a result of that, I wrote a very complicated book about polyrhythms because I didn't want to get caught out on that stuff. And the same is true with this. You might see a 10-minute video, but what I put into that 10-minute video, maybe not these vlogs on a daily basis, but they are super highly researched and as best as I can scientifically cited, and you'll often find references in the descriptions of the videos below. Now, over the last couple of years, I've become very interested in Stoic philosophy. So I tend to frame everything around that. Now, I think a lot of people have got the wrong opinion of Stoicism, this idea of stiff upper lip. It's not about that, being emotionally cold. It really isn't about that at all. And maybe over these videos, I'll kind of delve into this a little bit more. But where it landed with me was when I read, I believe in a Ross Edgley book, or somebody similar to that, this idea that actually in life all we have control over is our actions and our reactions. So the things that we do, I decide to put my hand up in the air like this, that is a choice that I have to make, and I have complete autonomy and control over that. And I heard a quote, probably borrowed from somebody else, that Chris Boardman said, that is, you can't choose what happens to you, but you can choose how you respond. Hello, I'm in the middle of just filming a video. Are you in here with me? That's a prime example. I had no control over the fact that those students came in here and asked me a question. It's absolutely fine. What I have got control over is my response, and I could have been a bit arsey with them, but you know, ultimately it's my lunch break that I've decided to do this on, and I'm not technically working, but my reaction, my response to that wasn't to do any of those things. It was to help them out, just in case you're wondering. But my response, my reactions, how I respond to the things that happen to me is completely in my control. I don't have control over the things that do happen to me, but how I respond, I do. And I'm a massive, massive believer in working on that. We do have a little barrier of influence. We can influence to some extent, but we have no control over that influence. We can kind of shunt people in a certain direction by the things we say or the things we do, the way we present stuff, for example. But, you know, for example, I could, you know, influence you to subscribe to the channel, but I'm not going to be able to make you do that. A call to action, so to speak. But yeah, you only have control over your actions and your reactions. If you believe you have any more control over the world than that, you're heading towards a level of irrational thought. Thought-provoking, to some extent, yeah, challenging. I have been both fortunate and unfortunate in my life to have experienced some really great things and some really harrowing things. The most recent, really, I guess, during COVID was my wife having breast cancer, and the surgery and the chemo and all those things that happened with that. It was, for her, of course, life-changing, but also for me too. And it's really was that instigated this whole shift in mindset of trying to figure out what I have control over and working on that stuff. But yeah, I tend to be extremely honest. There are some things that I don't talk about on the channel, but those are very few and far between. But none of what you'll get on this channel is lies or bull. You probably don't think that from this video, but I love filmmaking and I love making things look cinematic and filmic. That is another element of this channel that I love exploring. Setting myself the challenge of trying to make 75 videos in 75 days is not particularly conducive to that. But generally speaking, if you watch some of my other videos, and maybe I'll put a playlist here or at the end of some of the short films maybe I made at the lake near me during lockdown that helped keep my head together when everything felt like it was falling apart. Yes, I love that element of it too. And alongside that story structure, I do tend to try and think things through and try and think how I can get from A to B to C. Exactly the same as how I put lectures together, exactly how I try and put songs together and films. So I do try and structure them in some manner. Not that you're thinking that watching this, it's just a barrage of words probably. Now this is an interesting one. When I look at the sort of midlife space, if you like, most of the people that are in that space are ripped, and whether it's genuine or not, you know, whether they're on steroids or otherwise, they're generally in really good shape and probably have been for a while. I haven't been, and I'm not even now. It's one of the reasons for doing this, to push myself and to get myself a bit more towards that. But yeah, I've lived, as I often say, Ian Drury was right about the lifestyle of a musician. Some things more than others perhaps, but yeah, I've not exactly led the most healthy of lifestyles. I have always done some sort of level of exercise, but maybe it was a drop in the ocean really in the grand scheme of things. What am I trying to say here? What I'm trying to say is I've got a really big ship that I'm trying to re-steer, whereas actually I think an awful lot of people that talk about this stuff, maybe their baseline wasn't as low as mine had got. Let's just say that. And to that end, if I can do it, anyone can, I think. And finally, as I've said time and time again, these aren't necessarily for you. Writing these things down, saying these things out loud, they're my way of journaling. They're my way of working through my thought processes. And these videos won't get a huge amount of views, and that's not the intention here. Again, anti-hero, antithesis of kind of what a YouTube channel should be. It's not here to make me money. It's here for me to essentially just clarify and concentrate my thoughts into something a little bit more packaged and final. And writing these things down those of you that journal will know that it moves things from the limbic system, the emotional center of the brain, to the prefrontal cortex, which is the logical part of the brain. If you read Steve Peters' books, it's the chimp paradox. You know, when you have an argument with somebody and you say all these things that are rubbish, and then you walk away, and as you're walking away, you suddenly think of all the really good logical arguments that you could have put in place. That's what I'm talking about. Becca Bram.
Hi.
Hello. I'm making a video. Come and say hello. This is a video I'm making for my channel. This is
Hey.
Becca. Becca, quick question.
Yeah.
First day here. Yeah. How are you feeling about meeting the students for the first time?
Nervous.
Okay.
Excited.
Yeah.
Hopeful.
Okay. Hopeful. Yeah, it's pretty brutal, isn't it? How do you think you're going to feel in 12 weeks' time?
Proud.
Okay.
Tired.
Yes.
And tired.
Definitely. It's
Do you know
exciting.
what?
Go on.
Going into today, mostly thinking and trying to remember what it was like when we were in that position. Walking into a room for the first time. You've walked into a room for the first time.
I have.
People that you don't know.
I'm only smirking because I never went to university, but you walked into a room for the first time at university, and I was in there as a tutor then. That's how long I've been here, and you were one of the students, weren't you? So, yeah, it is this perspective, isn't it? But how can we make them feel at ease, and how can we... It's easier for us then as well, isn't it? Because ultimately we're selfish, and we're supposed to try to make everything as good as for us as possible. So, but yeah, it is putting yourself in their perspective, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
and just trying to be empathetic and gentle, but encouraging, and hopefully a little bit inspiring. Maybe.
Oh, I hadn't factored that bit in.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, maybe we should be a bit inspiring. Maybe I should write some inspiring things down.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you for that.